And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for Wednesday's marine segment. We'll start off with a look at today's sea ice analysis. Some significant ice now showing up just west-northwest here, Utah-Gavik and north of Wainwright. Continuing to see a slow increase of the ice along the coastline here, to a lesser extent on the west side. And of course, some significant ice here over northern Kotzebue Sound area there. And this area continuing to head southward here, almost reaching Barter Island there, Kaktovik, and extending into Mackenzie Bay. That pattern will continue for the next week or so. And for the forecast for tonight, strong low pressure pulls westward here and slowly weakens as the next low swings up to the northeast and starts to pull around, much like this one did. Front brings heavy wind and rain into the Panhandle tonight. And then for tomorrow, that front breaks up in western Canada there. And this low pulls and actually merges with the previous one here. So we're left with one center south of the Kenai Peninsula and showers and rain for the North Gulf Coast, but diminishing winds all across the Panhandle and lighter rainfall amounts as well, much like what you saw today. Tomorrow, fair in the interior here, areas of light snow. Northeast winds for the Arctic coast into the North Slope and the Brooks Range, and some pretty good northerlies continuing out here. In fact, gale force winds along the coast and areas all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula, pulling cold air southward with snow all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula there, and all along the west coast there, mostly off the coast, Nunivak Island just grazing the Yukon Delta coast, and not much else going on out to the west. And for tomorrow, Friday, snow over the northern Bering Sea, some rain showers down over the eastern Aleutians. Winds starting to diminish with areas of light snow here from the Chukchi Sea all the way down to the Alaska Peninsula. Still pretty brisk on those northwest winds through the day tomorrow there. And low pressure drifting southward now before it kind of pulls off to the southeast Saturday, Friday night and Saturday. Still a chance of rain east side of Kodiak Island. Showers for the North Gulf Coast. Scattered snow showers across southern Alaska. Some possible clearing over the northern and central interior south of the Brooks Range. And this trough spreading some possibly gusty west winds and snow across the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, locally into the North Slope. And lighter winds now for the Panhandle, but still a lot of shower activity with southwest flow continuing, but not as strong as it has been. Coastal water forecasts through tomorrow, looks like gale warnings will remain out all along the coast. For the south coast here, south to southeasterlies, 35 to 40 knots. In the north coast, winds east at 35 to 40 with seas just under 20 feet. And for Lynn Canal, southeast winds 25 knots and gusty, southeast winds 35 knots. For Stevens Passage and small craft advisories for southeasterlies at 25 for Clarence Strait, but those seas up to 18 feet. And for the Friday outlook, much lighter winds now, still small craft advisories for the Clarence Strait area at 25 knots, with seas now down to 7 feet, southeast at 20 for Stevens Passage, and Lynn Canal with 4-foot seas. South coast, south winds 20 knots, seas around 13 feet. In the north coast, east to southeast winds at 20 knots with 11-foot seas. North Gulf Coast tomorrow on the east side, gale warnings for east winds at 35 knots, east at 30 knots with 6-foot seas for Prince William Sound, and gale warnings here for the Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay, northwest at 40 knots, seas 12 to 14 feet. Small craft advisories for Cook Inlet, north to northeast winds 25 to 30 knots, highest south of the Forelands. And then for Friday, northeast to northwest winds for Cook Inlet at 20 knots. Gale warnings continue for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. For Kamishak Bay, west at 40, northwest 35 for the Barren Islands. Small craft advisories, Prince William Sound, east at 25 knots with 4-foot seas. And east to southeast winds for the North Gulf Coast at 20 to 25 knots. Kodiak Island tomorrow, gale warnings, west-northwesterlies 30 to 35 knots. Gale warnings for the Alaska Peninsula, northwest winds at 30 to 35 knots. And Bristol Bay, about the same wind pattern there, 30-knot winds out of the northwest, seas at about 10 feet. And for Friday, Kodiak Island, northwest winds 25 to 35 knots with the gale warnings in Shelikof Strait. Gale warnings for the Alaska Peninsula and Bristol Bay, all looking at northwest winds at 30 to 35 knots, with seas here on the Bering Sea side of things running 13 to 16 feet and about 6 to 8 feet here on the Pacific side. And for Unalaska Island tomorrow, northwest winds 25 knots, Unimak Island, variable winds 10 to 15 knots, Adak and Atka, variable winds 10 to 15 knots, and the western Aleutians, west-northwesterlies 25 to 30 knots. For Friday, for the western Aleutians, west-southwest winds 20 to 25 knots, southwest at about 20 for Adak and Atka, and the eastern Aleutians, west to southwest winds at 15 to 25. And for the southwest coast, looking at gale warnings tomorrow, northwest 35 knots all the way down to Cape Newenham there, and northwest at 30, as I mentioned, in Bristol Bay, north 25 for the Pribilofs, northwest 30 for St. Matthew Island, northwest 30 also for St. Lawrence Island, and north at 20 in Norton Sound. And then for Friday, northwesterly gales here continue for the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, Kuskokwim Delta coastline. Small craft advisories, west winds 25 knots, Norton Sound, St. Lawrence Island, and the Yukon Delta coast with 6 to 7 foot seas. South at 20 knots, seas 8 feet for St. Matthew Island, and lighter winds, southwest 15 for the Pribilof Islands. Up along the Beaufort Sea coastline tomorrow, pretty uniform wind pattern there. Northeast winds 25 to 30 knots with seas running anywhere from 5 to 8 feet. And for the Chukchi Sea, north winds at 30 knots with 6 to 11 foot seas. And then for Friday, Chukchi Sea, north to northeast winds 20 to 25 knots with 4 to 7 foot seas. Northwest at 20 for the western Arctic coast, north at 20 for the central coast, and west at 15 knots, the way it looks right now for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast with 3 foot seas.